Hey CCV, thank you for being a part of your group and for leaning into all that God has in store for your life. If you've ever felt a stirring or have ever been curious whether your talents might be able to serve the church beyond volunteering or coaching, now is the perfect time to find out. As we prepare to launch more campuses around the Valley, we're on the search for committed believers and leaders to join our team, and the opportunities might surprise you. From operations to architecture, visual arts to vocational ministry, and so much more. CCV has a range of exciting career opportunities. To check out our current openings or to send in your application, check out ccv.church/careers today. Thank you so much and have a great group.
Hey, this past weekend, Dave gave a great message on You've Got One Shot. It was a great Super Bowl message. But man, is it important for our spiritual life as well. Sometimes you think you have a lot of time to share your faith with someone. Sometimes you have one shot. I want to tell you a story that comes out of the book of Acts. It's about the Apostle Paul. He has been in prison for 2 years. He's going to be in prison for another 2 years. But in the middle of his trial, he appeals to Caesar. He says, I got to go to Caesar because you're not giving me a fair trial. And the last person that he appealed to was a guy named Herod. Now, you've heard of Herod the Great, who tried to kill Jesus when he was a baby. And maybe you have heard of his son, Herod Agrippa. He was the guy in Acts 12 who died because he had just killed the Apostle James and wanted to kill the Apostle Peter. This is a grandson of Herod the Great. So now we have 3 generations. And he was curious about this Paul, even more curious about the Jesus that Paul preached. And why wouldn't he be? Like his entire family had been involved in trying to stop the movement, and they never did. And now he has an opportunity to be face to face with the great Apostle Paul for preaching the gospel. And Paul gives this really fabulous sermon in Acts 26. You can read it on your own time. But in verse 28, Paul has been pushing and inviting Herod to come. And here's what Herod says. It's a very confusing passage of Scripture. In verse 28, in a short time, you would persuade me to be a Christian. Now, what makes this passage so confusing is we don't know if it's a comment or a question. Is he saying, do you think you could make me a Christian? Or will you make me a Christian? Or is it a comment? You're trying to make me a Christian. So that's one confusion. Question, comment. Second confusion. Is he serious or is he being sarcastic? The third confusion, the word little. With a little, the Greek text literally translated would be this. In little, me, you persuade Christian to make. That's how the Greek reads. The question is, a little what? A little time, a little persuasion, a little effort. Here's another confusion. There's no punctuation marks in the Greek text, so we don't know if it's a question or if it's a comment. Like, you think you can make me a Christian with a little evidence, a little time, a little effort? Or you're going to make me a Christian with a little evidence? Or you really think you can make me a Christian with a little evidence, a little time? Here's the third confusion. We don't know if he's serious or sarcastic. Is he really saying, you could make me a Christian? Or is he saying, yeah, you're going to make me a Christian with a little amount of evidence? Now, a lot of interpreters have tried to settle what he actually means. For example, if you read different translations, it comes across really differently. King James, almost thou persuadest me to be a Christian. So it's a statement, not a question. And almost is like, you almost got me. Revised Standard Version. In a short time, you think to make me a Christian. Like you're trying to do this with a little bit of time. New American Standard. In a short time, you will persuade me to become a Christian. In other words, just give it a little more time and like, I'm almost there. NIV, which we've already read, it's a question. Do you think that in such a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian? American Standard Version. But with little persuasion, thou wouldest fain make me a Christian. In other words, in the ASV, he's criticizing Paul. Lamza. With little effort, you almost persuade me to become a Christian. There's so many variables. And this is my thought, my opinion, can't prove it, so I could be wrong, but listen. Sometimes when you're sharing your faith, the person that you're sharing your faith with will give you the stiff arm. They want to create a cloud of confusion. I think that's exactly what Herod is doing. He's in public, and he thinks that Paul is on trial, and now Paul has put him on trial. And he tries to push it off. Here's the point that I want you to get. Herod may have thought he had a little more time. He may have thought he could have heard Paul again. But as near as we can tell, this is the very last time that Herod ever heard the gospel, and he died without Christ. You don't know how much time you have. You don't know how many more opportunities you'll get to share your faith or invite a friend or family member to church. Don't wait until it's convenient. Make the opportunity. They may give you the stiff arm. That's not on you, that's on them. But we've got to take seriously, because sometimes it's true. You only have one last shot. Let's not waste it. And that's something worth talking about.